Kato stared at the distant clouds, curiosity burning in his eyes. Something was off. The energy in the air was familiar but unsettling. Is the goddess back? He wondered. Without hesitation, he shifted into his true form, a colossal snake. Whatever it was, he would find out, and fast. He slithered forward with incredible speed, cutting through the dense forest. Meanwhile, in a nearby clearing, a group of hunters stood looking at each other in awe. The goddess had vanished but had left them with a gift. Each held a bow and arrow, but their once frail bodies had transformed. Muscles bulged, their skin rippled with power. They felt more alive than ever before. Excitement brewed in their eyes, but then a scent filled the air. It was intoxicating, sending their blood rushing, their hearts pounding. Their eyes gleamed with an unnatural red glow. They didn't understand it until they spotted the massive snake emerging from the forest. Kato entered the clearing and froze. The sight before him was bizarre. Who were these giants? Before he could make sense of it, an arrow whizzed by, grazing his head. Kato recoiled, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the source. One of the hunters, Cabo the Great, grinning from ear to ear. Next time, Cabo thought to himself, I'll aim better. Let the hunt begin, Cabo's voice boomed across the clearing. You are watching the Tales of the Savannah. Subscribe and be part of the tribe. Now let's get back to the story. The hunters sprang into action, their powerful legs launching them forward with unnatural speed. Kato was unprepared. Arrows flew in the air, narrowly missing him. He darted and weaved through the trees, but he couldn't escape them all. Cabo the Great paused, watching the frenzy unfold. Wanting to test his skill, he stood still, bow in hand. He drew an arrow, his eyes fixed on where he anticipated the snake would be next. He took a deep breath, steadied himself, then released. The arrow sliced through the air with precision and struck Kato squarely. With a deafening crash, Kato fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Mambo stood before his family. They had all seen it, the ominous cloud in the sky, and felt the strange energy in the air. But where was Kato? Mambo looked to his older brother for reassurance. Where is Kato? Mambo asked, concern etched on his face. Before anyone could answer, a young boy burst into the room, gasping for breath. They got Kato! They got him! Mambo frowned, confused. Calm down. What are you talking about? Kato's gone, the boy cried. The giants took his life. Mambo's blood ran cold. He and several others moved with lightning speed, rushing to the scene. When they arrived, the sight shattered Mambo's heart. There, on the forest floor, lay Kato, naked, alone, lifeless. Dropping to his knees, Mambo's chest tightened in agony. Who dared to harm his brother, his confidant, and his friend? His fists clenched as he noticed the massive footprints, the unmistakable tracks of the hunters. Mambo stood, his face a mask of cold determination. He would not cry for his fallen brother. Not yet. Not until he had avenged him. This was just the beginning. A war was coming, one that would rage for centuries. The snake goddess watched in horror as the hunters claimed their first victim. Their aim was still off, but she knew it wouldn't be long before they perfected their skills. That would spell disaster for her people. She paced back and forth in her mansion, the excitement of the party that had once filled her home now a distant memory. She needed to act. There was only one option left. She would have to confront the hunter goddess. The snake goddess had never visited the domain of a first-tier god or goddess before. As she approached the hunter goddess's mansion, she was stunned. The sheer size of the place made her own mansion feel like a simple house in comparison. It was surrounded by a vast forest, the perfect hunting ground fit for a hunter goddess, and the mansion itself was grand, with servants at every turn. A servant approached her as she entered. "You can wait here," he said, gesturing towards a study. "I will let her know you're here." The snake goddess stepped inside, her eyes widening at the elegance of the room. Every detail had been crafted with care, and the beauty of the place left her in awe. But her thoughts were interrupted by a cold, sharp voice. "Goddess," the hunter goddess said, stepping into the room. "What brings you here?" The snake goddess hesitated, unsure of what to say. "Congratulations on your appointment," she finally managed to say. The hunter goddess raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. You came all this way just to congratulate me? No, the snake goddess admitted, her voice faltering. I came to ask for mercy for my people. The hunter goddess narrowed her eyes, her gaze cold and unyielding. Mercy! The snake goddess took a deep breath, her heart pounding. I wasn't privileged to be created as a goddess of needs like yourself. I've made mistakes, I've been punished, but I've learned. I'm asking for my sake, please spare my people. The hunter goddess crossed her arms, her expression hard. You should have thought of that earlier. When your people harmed humans in your name, you did nothing. You sat back and enjoyed the benefits, didn't you? The snake goddess lowered her head, shame washing over her. The hunter goddess was right. She had let greed blind her, and now the consequences had arrived. My people are hunters, the hunter goddess said, her voice firm and unrelenting. And they will hunt. There will be no mercy. The snake goddess looked up, her eyes pleading, but the hunter goddess's face had grown even more serious. This is my divine assignment, and I will make sure I execute it with the highest level of efficiency. You should do the same, snake goddess. May the best goddess win. The intensity in her words left no room for negotiation. The snake goddess nodded, feeling a wave of weakness overcome her. Her legs trembled beneath her, barely able to support her weight. The war had begun, and there was no stopping it now. Her heart broke for Kato. Maybe if she had been a better goddess, none of this would have happened. Tendai felt the cool water rise to his knees as he walked hand in hand with Mami Abeni. His heart raced, not just from the cold, but from the unfamiliar world he was about to enter. Behind him, his father and grandfathers stood on the shore, their faces stern as they prepared for their mission. He wanted to look back, to wish them the goddess's protection, but he forced himself to focus. The water was creeping higher, and this was no ordinary sea. He was stepping into a world unknown to him. Mami Abeni's hand was firm, a steadying comfort amidst the swirling nerves in his chest. Close your eyes, Tendai, she whispered, her voice soft and calm. Breathe in and out, like you're on land. Tendai obeyed, squeezing her hand tighter as he drew deep, slow breaths. His pulse gradually steadied. Now, Mami Abeni said, open your eyes. Tendai blinked, and what he saw took his breath away. The marine world unfolded before him in a way he could never have imagined. Beautiful, gleaming houses of coral and shell dotted the landscape, surrounded by lush underwater gardens that swayed with the current. Fish of all colors darted between the buildings, and children with shimmering tails, laughed and played in the open water, chasing one another in a game Tendai couldn't quite understand. He smiled at them, his heart lifting. Can I go and play with them? He asked, turning to Mami Abeni. She chuckled softly. Maybe later, but first we must announce your arrival to the Queen. Tendai's eyes widened in surprise. The Queen? He asked, startled. Mami Abeni's expression turned serious. Yes, Mami Wata. When we are before her, do not speak unless she speaks to you first. Understand? Tendai nodded, now even more curious and afraid of this mysterious queen. Inside the palace, they were led to a large hall, and there, seated on a throne of polished shells and emerald stones, was Mami Wata herself. She was a striking figure, her long flowing hair cascading down her shoulders, her dark eyes piercing as they studied Tendai. There was beauty in her presence, but also a cold, intense darkness that made Tendai uneasy. This is the boy. Mami Wata's voice was soft yet commanding as she addressed Mami Abeni. Yes, this is him, Mami Abeni replied, bowing deeply. Mami Wata's gaze shifted to Tendai, her eyes narrowing as if she were peering into his soul. What is your name? She asked. Tendai, he whispered. Mami Abeni's voice cut through sharply. Speak up. Tendai, he repeated, louder this time. The Queen's lips curved into a small smile. And who is your mother? Tendai's face tightened. I don't know. My father. He doesn't speak about her. Mami Wata nodded thoughtfully. Have you transformed yet? Tendai knew what she meant. He had tried before, tried to call on the snake within him, but he had failed. "No," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I tried, but I couldn't reach it." For a moment, the queen said nothing. Then she spoke again, her tone serious. "You are welcome here, Tendai of the hunters and the snake people. But know this, your father and grandfather are on a mission for me. If they fail, you may have to stay here, indefinitely." Tendai's stomach churned at her words. He bowed low, mimicking the way Mami Abeni had done. "You can go and play now," Mami Abeni said, her voice gentle once more. Tendai didn't need to be told twice. He darted off to join the mermaid children, his worries temporarily forgotten as he dove into their games. In this underwater world, he wasn't the strange boy who hissed. He was just a child, laughing and playing like the others. And for a brief moment, as he swam and laughed, Tendai thought about what Mami Wata had said. If his father and grandfather failed to come back on time, he might stay here. And maybe, just maybe, that wouldn't be so bad. He could live here, no longer a burden to his father and grandfather. The day Amina woke up and addressed her people, she had scanned the crowd, her voice steady but her mind racing. Amidst the sea of faces, her eyes were drawn to a man standing quietly in the crowd. He looked familiar, but she couldn't place him. After the speech, Amina slipped away to the forest, seeking solitude to clear her head. There was so much to think about. How would she lead her people now that Asa was gone? She needed answers, but they seemed just out of reach. "Excuse me, Amina," a deep voice cut through her thoughts. Amina spun around, startled. A tall man stood behind her, his presence both unsettling and intriguing. "I'm Lunga," he said. "I knew your mother." A rush of questions flooded Amina's mind, but she held back, her heart racing. Instead, she asked calmly, "Do I know you?" "We met once when you were young," Lunga replied, "but I doubt you remember." "I heard about your victory in the tunnels." "Congratulations," Amina wanted to correct him. That victory was all Asa's, but Lunga continued, his voice calm and assured. "I promised your mother I would be by your side, if you would allow it." Amina hesitated. Could she trust this stranger? "Let me show you something," Lunga said when he sensed Amina's hesitation. He led her deeper into the woods. 2 guards followed in the distance. She knew she was safe. They walked in silence until they reached a small cabin, hidden away from the rest of the camp. He pulled out a key and unlocked the door, revealing a room filled with books, maps, and other relics. "This is where your mother came to escape the chaos," Lunga said, placing the key in her hand. Amina smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, Lunga," she whispered. She had been so unsure of where to begin leading her people, and now it seemed her mother had left her a path to follow. Back in the present, Kwame knelt before Amina and Lunga. There was tension in the air. "You spent considerable time with the hunters, Kwame," Lunga said, his voice low and demanding. "Do you know this girl?" Kwame's head hung low, shame written all over his face. "Yes." "Why is she here alone?" Amina asked, her voice sharp. Kwame hesitated, clearly struggling with his answer. "I don't know," he mumbled. Lunga's patience was wearing thin. "What do you know about her?" After a long pause, Kwame finally spoke. "She's the daughter of Jengo, the leader of the hunters." The revelation hit Amina like a punch to the gut. This was no ordinary girl. They were in danger. The hunters would be looking for her. Lunga's gaze darkened as he leaned closer to Kwame, his voice a growl. "Why is the hunter princess here, Kwame, alone?" Kwame shifted uncomfortably. We had a thing. I had no idea she'd come looking for me." Lunga shook his head, springing into action. "The hunters may already know where we are," he said, his voice urgent. "We need to prepare." He moved quickly, stepping outside to ensure the guards were on high alert, making sure the girl was guarded as securely as possible. But even as Lunga organized their defenses, 4 sets of glowing eyes watched from the shadows of the forest. Their mission was clear: extract Nala and get out. But as they observed the compound, it became clear that their task would not be easy. The people inside moved as if they sensed the hunter's presence, and the tension in the air told them this mission would be far harder than they had anticipated. The hunt was on. And just like that, my dear tribe members, we've reached the end of another episode in our Snake People series. I've noticed that some of you haven't watched the second battle between the Snake People and the hunters. I've linked it in the description below, so be sure to check it out. Some of you have been asking for the mermaids to return, and I hope you enjoyed seeing Mami Wata in this episode. Thank you for all your comments. They really help me answer your questions and shape the story. I love reading and engaging with you. And as always, thank you for watching our story, and we hope you enjoyed it. What lessons did you draw from this story? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of the tribe. Thank you for watching The Tales of the Savannah. We will see you next time in the Savannah.